Hello, welcome to Dan Really Likes Wine, and welcome to a very unusual location for a wine show. Now, normally if I'm not in my cellar, I'm in somebody else's cellar, I'm on a wine farm, I'm in a restaurant. That's pretty much the limit of the adventures of Dan Really Likes Wine, except for today, because today I'm being particularly adventurous and rather brave because I'm embarking upon an exercise which could curtail my wine drinking. I'm just hoping not. I'm in the offices of Nutritional Solutions, where a very good friend of mine oscillates between being absolutely delightful and the most horrible person on earth. And she's horrible when she's telling me what I'm supposed to be eating, which is generally what I'm not eating. But I'm not here for advice on what to eat. I'm here for advice on what to drink. Jade Seeliger, welcome.
Hi, Dan.
Slightly nerve-wracking walking through your door again, because I normally leave with this list of sort of lentils and cabbage soup and things I'm supposed to be eating. But happily we're steering clear of food for today, and we're jumping into wine, and I do know that wine is something you do have the occasional glass of.
Yeah, I like to follow the guidelines of one drink a day for women and 2 drink a day for men.
I think you've kind of answered the first question, which is within a balanced diet, within moderate consumption, wine is not just acceptable, it can also be quite a healthy part of a diet.
Yeah, absolutely. And the key is moderation. So it's a standard unit or a drink for ladies, and this is kind of what it would look like in terms of a unit of wine, and then men can get away with 2 of those.
All right. Some broader questions around the wine space and the health risks when perhaps you do have more than just your recommended 1 day a glass. What are we looking at? What are the reasons that we maybe shouldn't be drinking too much wine?
So there are a couple of things, but the benefit is seen with moderation. And if you go over that, then it very quickly goes into negative side effects, and it increases risk for certain cancers, for liver disease. It can increase your blood pressure and increase risk of heart disease and strokes. So it's kind of almost the opposite to drinking moderately. And then the other thing as well is that it can be a kilojoule bomb. And that's why I think you're also here today, is that for every gram of alcohol, you get almost double the amount of kilojoules per gram of carb or protein. And so it's very easy to add up the kilojoules quickly, and it's not necessarily nutrient dense. In fact, it's quite low in nutrients. And so it's almost empty kilojoules that we're getting,
which are not the sort we want.
No.
All right, this is off to a very bad start. We're going to have to redo this whole interview. We're going to drink some wine, and we're going to get an idea from the different types as to what we might be looking for. So I dropped into Pick and Pay. The store on Nickel is fabulous. It really does have a great wine selection, and some of the wine did look a little healthier. Kicking off with this very first one, now this is some Chenin Blanc from Spier, and the 5.5%, as per the label, is fairly self-explanatory. Compared to a typical Spier Chenin Blanc, this has 50% less alcohol and 50% less calories. So I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, well, this should be better for me.
Yeah, absolutely. So cutting down the alcohol will naturally cut down on the calories and the energy. And that's the thing, again, with the alcohol, is that it basically, when you have alcohol, it goes straight to the liver, and your body regards it as a toxin. So it kind of goes, let's metabolize this and get rid of this and store everything else that Dan might be eating as fat, because we need to prioritize this. And so by cutting down on the alcohol, you will be cutting down on the calories. And so, yeah, it's definitely a great option. You can get away with 2 glasses instead of 1.
Provided, of course, you like the stuff. And that is always the challenge that we find when wine has a significantly reduced alcohol content, or heaven forbid is de-alcoholized. It's just so hard to capture the essence of what wine really is. So the rest of the wine we're drinking is more regular in its alcohol content. But I thought I'd try this out. I was down at Spier a couple of weeks ago. It's a lovely place to visit. I generally do like their wine. I think it's quite underrated quite often. Well, in fact, what I'm going to do, I'm going to give you the bottle, Jade. You pour what you feel is a reasonable glass. That way you can't blame me for this.
Can you tell everyone that it's 11 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday?
Yes, and this is our 4th take.
Yeah, I'm going for a taster portion.
All right, taster portion. Well, what I have to say, this is an important point to make. If you're thinking, geez, I'm not sure I'd go to a dietitian, I'm not sure that this sounds like the space for me. Well, don't be too nervous, because Nutritional Solutions had all 8 of these wine glasses on hand, so this is clearly the right place for me. All right, so this is Shannon. It's low on alcohol. It is low on pretty much all the naughty stuff. It's unwooded, so we're going to get lots of pure fruit, but will we get the flavour? Let's try it out and see what we think. It does taste like a light wine, doesn't it?
It does. It tastes almost like wine mixed with a bit of grape juice.
Yeah, and it's perfectly drinkable. And I think summer's day, or you're out to lunch and you don't really feel like something heavy, it's going to do a job. But for me, it's just not generating quite the excitement on the palate of a wine that would have the fuller body, the fuller alcohol.
Yeah.
So it might be better for me. I just don't feel better.
No, maybe with a whole lot of ice thrown in, diluted further. I don't know.
Yeah. So look, I've had a number of these. Generally, not my favourite space, but it's not bad at all. And I think it definitely has a space. It has a purpose. And again, if you're having a lunch or maybe you're driving, it's certainly not a bad option. But I think as much as it'll add 30 or 40 years to my life, it'll also feel that I'm living longer because I'm not drinking the stuff that I want to be. So I'm going to set this aside. I'll leave that for you for your next clients, and move over to a space with which I know you are particularly familiar because this forms part of your breakfast on a regular basis. This is from Mr. Graham Beck, and this is their Brut Zero, the zero dosage. What that means very simply is they don't add any sugar to the final process. So this is going to be bone dry, which is a style I quite like, but it also means that there is not so much sugar. And that's going to be a big thing because we sometimes forget, even with a dry wine, that there's an awful lot of sugar in wine.
Exactly. So I think that's where the kilojoules come from. It's not only the alcohol, but also the sugar. And the problem with that is that you get that like sugar high where your blood glucose increases, and then that drop afterwards where you get the munchies while you're eating, and now you've got the alcohol mixed with it. So you've got no inhibitions and you're happy to eat whatever is in front of you. Well, maybe not the chicken salad, but more of the pizza.
Of course, Jade talking purely from experience here. I would have absolutely no idea what she's on about myself. All right, so the Brut Zero. And I love this because it's a little bit lower in alcohol, so it's just 12%. The zero dosage, no extra sugar. Yes, you can't live on the stuff, but it is just that little bit better for you.
Yes, exactly. And also, I mean, the Proseccos and the MCCs are known to be lower in kilojoules. So an average glass of wine, for example, red wine would be about 600 kilojoules, whereas a Prosecco or MCC would usually be around 350 kilojoules. So it is lower.
And then if you think, because it's quite a heavy bottle and it's a heavy-ish glass, the output there, you're actually losing weight.
Losing weight as you drink. Cheers.
All right, from the Godfather, Mr. Peter Ferreira. Oh,
I like that.
It is. It's crisp and it's fresh and it's glorious.
Yeah, and I like the dryness as well. Very tasty.
Yeah, and it's there's a big trend, especially in South Africa, for that demi-sec, that nectar, that slightly sweeter version, which a lot of people enjoy. This for me is perfect. And now that I know that it's actually a health drink, I'm liking it even more. Wait till we finish with the edit of this.
This is dangerous.
All right. So perhaps then for ladies' standards, a glass and a half rather than just a glass?
Yeah, you could probably get it if that's half the kilojoules. So it would probably be about, I'd say probably close to 200 kilojoules for a glass. That it would be 2 glasses to the normal one, which is nice.
This is getting better and better. All right. There's always been a broad perception, before we jump onto the reds, that somehow white wine is maybe slightly healthier, slightly better for you. It looks like it's lighter. Is that complete misconception?
No. So white wine is lighter, and the Prosecco and the MCCs are the lightest. But the red wine, the one benefit that adds is the antioxidants, which I'm sure you would have heard of, which is resveratrol, and that's an antioxidant that you naturally find in grape skin. So, and that antioxidant is it's cardioprotective, and it's also anti-inflammatory. So that's a benefit of red wine. It is heavier and often high in kilojoules, but it's got the antioxidants. We can drink that too.
All right, this is basically like coming to the doctor, this. It's brilliant. So what I've gone for, and I have a sneaking suspicion that this is one of the wines you professed fondness for in the past. This is the Haut Cabriere, the unwooded Pinot Noir. So again, a very light and very fruity wine. But I picked this one, both because I do know you like it, but also 12.5% alcohol. So it's not up at that 14, 15%. And it does two things. It simply lessens the alcohol, but also it's amazing how just a couple of percent changes the whole nature of a bottle of wine, and it loses the heaviness that some of those big, robust reds can have, even though they're only 2.5% more alcohol.
Yeah, absolutely. And that'll make a difference in the terms on the total kilojoules as well. And the other thing also just to be aware of, and I know you the absolute champion at this, is that people often continually fill up your wine glass before you finish it. And so that's quite a nice tip to be aware of in terms of controlling your calorie content, is make sure that the glass is finished before the host keeps topping it up.
Again, no idea what she's talking about. It's a great way to ensure you only have one glass of wine.
I know.
I love that fresh fruit on this.
This is delicious, yeah.
It almost heads into more sort of Cinsault territory, this when it's not wooded. Soft and Ribena-like, and to use Mike Radcliffe's favourite word, just yummy.
It is delicious, especially at 11 o'clock in the morning. No, very tasty.
And again,
I like
it's light in every sense. So that will probably mean that it's maybe a little less on the kilojoules as well.
Yes, yeah. No, it will be. Could you add a block of ice to this, or would that be really breaking all wine rules?
I'd never talk to you again. No, it's very simple. I mean, I know winemakers who throw ice in as well. I don't like to do it, but what I will do for a bottle of wine like this, a Pinot Noir, a Cinsault, a lighter red, I'll pop it in the fridge for 20 minutes before I open it, because our concept of room temperature, the difference between room temperature in Alaska and the Karoo is fairly pronounced.
Yes.
So where are you? What is your room temperature?
Okay.
For me, we have a huge problem with temperature in wine in South Africa. We tend to keep our Sauvignon Blanc in the fridge for 4 months before we open it.
Yes.
So it's frozen. It just closes the whole wine, and you lose so much of it.
Okay.
You actually need to warm it up a little bit. Nobody wants to drink warm white wine, but if it's too cold, you're losing a lot of the joy.
Okay.
And similarly, red wine, a wine like this, if you're drinking it even 3 or 4 degrees too warm, it's also, it becomes almost that sort of cold tea-like.
Yes.
And again, you're not getting quite the joy out of it.
Flavour.
So, not necessarily with a kind of red like we're going to drink in a moment, the Cab Merlot, but that light one, 20 minutes in the fridge, especially in summer, and you've got a different wine entirely.
Yes, yeah, that's interesting. And my advice of adding soda water, which I tell my clients to do, is that...
Cut.
Is that breaking all rules?
You Philistine.
Switzer.
No. I'm never coming here again if you ever tell me you do that again. No, look, again, the simple premise of Dan Really Likes Wine is that if you enjoy the way that you're drinking wine, then that's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
And if you're putting soda water into your 350 rand bottle of Klein Constantia Sauvignon Blanc, I would...
It's a mortal sin.
No, it's not mortal sin. It's close to it. But I would rather, if that's what I'm looking for, go for some light sparkles, and you're going to get that same effervescence, because you're watering down the flavour of it.
Absolutely.
And so, to me, you're then losing the essence of that wine.
Yeah.
So, as a thirst quencher, fine, but as a sustained drink,
thirst quencher.
It's a hot day.
No, but it's interesting because it's the same philosophy that I have about food, where often people will say to me, well, should I be eating a cauliflower pizza? And that sounds like the worst idea in the world, because you're compromising 90% of the taste for 10% less calories. And so eat the pizza, but just eat less.
Exactly.
So I think that's probably the same with wine. I'm going to stop telling my clients to make spritzers.
I think you're an official wine expert on board at Nutritional Solutions. I shall apply next week. All right, let's go to a final one. I bought this one out for a particular reason. This is a guy who is he's just a wonderful, wonderful man, mad keen surfer, but also wrote the book on not just organic but biodynamic farming. And so I can't tell you that exactly what makes this better than any other wine in terms of the detail or the chemistry of it. What I do know is that this wine is made in synchrony and concert with nature in as much as it is possible too. So just from a very broad level, because Reyneke wines are made biodynamically, they're made without fertilizer, they're made without any unnatural assistance, what you're getting is a really, really good, healthy glass of wine.
Delicious.
And also good wine, which is just as important. Is it something, this would apply I suppose more to food, but it is a direct application to wine as well, where you'll have conversations with your clients about having a real look at what they're eating in terms of where it comes from, and going beyond, well, that's a vegetable, but where is that vegetable from? How is it produced? And what are we actually putting into our bodies in that sense?
Absolutely. I think that if you have the ability to look a little bit further into your food, it is definitely to your advantage. It's always tricky though, because I think a lot of, for example, if we take healthy eating, a lot of people are just battling to get the basics right. So if we're now telling them to eat organic everything, it does become a little bit trickier. But when you do have the option and you can afford it, then I would definitely do it. It limits your exposure to toxins and pesticides, which we just really, our bodies are flooded with that. And so being aware and decreasing your exposure to that is going to definitely be to your benefits.
As is drinking Reyneke wine. This is basically, you're detoxing by drinking this glass of wine, Jade. You will be a better person. I can almost feel those notes of smugness on the wine.
It does smell delicious.
A couple of things I love about this. It's such a simple blend, throwing the Cab and the Merlot together. Occasionally there'll be a little something else that Johan throws in, but the majority of this is Cab and Merlot. But also this is 95 rand a bottle.
Okay,
so it's a very accessible bottle of wine, and it's one that's just produced in a way that I think more and more wine producers are moving towards. There was a time when organic was kind of looked down on, and everybody who does it is part of the plaited armpit brigade dancing around in their hemp sandals at midnight under a full moon. But now it's seen that it has a real impact, and it's allowing you to make better wine, not just from an actual point of view, but from a philosophical point of view as well.
Yeah, I'm surprised that it's 95 rand. When I saw organic, I thought it would be a lot more expensive. So that's good to know.
And there are a few people like Waverley who are making great organic wine, and there are also a lot of guys, you'll see wine labels that have a little sunbird on, and that's the WWF Conservation Champion logo, which is given to estates who are really making an effort to be more aware of their surrounds and looking after the terroir, which is very important.
Brilliant, that's amazing.
All right, well, we've had 4 wines. The first one was pleasant, but I don't think we're going to be drinking it at an overly regular
I can maybe
basis.
ask people to make that into a spritzer. You won't object.
That's absolutely fine. In fact, I'll leave it for you for that very purpose. The others, the bubble's terrific, and both reds delightful as well. Final thought then, as people are thinking, right, I must give my wine drinking habits a little more consideration. It's certainly not telling people to stop drinking wine, but it's understanding how much they should be drinking, when they should be drinking it, and maybe just giving a little bit more thought to what's in that glass.
Yeah, that's absolutely it. I think that just moderation and consciousness when you're drinking. And I think that's something that we apply almost to all other areas of our life. And it needs to be there when you're drinking, where you actually enjoy it and taste it and drink it slowly and enjoy it with a lovely, healthy meal. So that presence and drinking consciously, drinking moderately, also making sure that you're well hydrated the whole time. We end up enjoying our wine so much that you don't look after your hydration status. So having a big jug of the water on the table and making sure that you drink that, and try and set yourself kind of a little bit of a limit where you'll say, okay, I'm going to try and stick to my 2 glasses tonight and not go over that.
Look at those judging eyes cast upon me as we run through it. I think it is great advice. And the piece I really do enjoy about that is, if you know I've only got 2 glasses of wine for this evening, you really really want to savor those glasses all the more and ensure that you get the very best out of them, that you get an understanding of what is in that particular glass. I hope this has been educational. I hope it's been helpful. I hope it's also made you realize that if you come to Nutritional Solutions, you can have a glass of wine as you run through your diet plan, which is of course really, really important. All this wine available at Pick n Pay. Next time you're in the stand, have a look around, have a look at the wine, have a look at what the alcohol content is, do a little bit of research, and maybe find a couple of bottles to add to your cellar, to add to your monthly wine run that speak to the healthier side of wine, as endorsed by South Africa's finest dietitian. I think we've got some wine to finish off, so we shall do that.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Pleasure, Dan. Lovely to see you.
Cheers. To join the Pick n Pay Wine Club, simply SMS your smart shopper number to 36775. It's absolutely free, and you'll get for yourself 3 times the smart shopper points on every bottle of wine bought. You'll also get a 20% discount on 10 different wines each month, a 25% discount on a case of wine, and a Magnum, some terrific competitions and invitations to awesome events.